Support for this podcast comes from CDTA, The Eagle, a Times Union podcast driven by CDTA. It's been a while, hasn't it? We've taken a bit more of a hiatus than we'd originally planned, but I promise you we are slowly getting back to business as usual here on The Eagle. I'm Jessica Marshall. The reason for the spotty summer we've had was a good one. We were hard at work producing our limited series podcast, Catastrophic Failure. It's our deep dive into the story of the Schoharie limo crash. We've published 9 episodes so far and gotten great response from listeners. Give it a listen. You can find it on timesunion.com/podcasts or on all major podcast apps. And let us know what you think. Email us at podcast@timesunion.com. Okay, that's enough about stories of tragedy for now. We are going to talk about comedy today, specifically stand-up comedy. Actor and comedian Robert Kelly is heading to Cohoes Music Hall on October 5th. Kelly's credits include hosting The Bonfire on SiriusXM and the You Know What Dude podcast, as well as playing roles in hit TV shows like Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll on FX and Inside Amy Schumer. About 15 years ago, though, Kelly was on tour with fellow comedian Dane Cook. He opened for him at what is now the MVP Arena in Albany. The Times Union's Steve Barnes was at that show that night, and he remembers laughing so hard at Kelly's stand-up that he cried, and then proceeded to write that Robert Kelly was funnier than Dane Cook. Flash forward 15 years, Steve and Kelly got to meet on a Zoom call. Here's their conversation.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
I am well, thank you. So you're 51 now, right?
No. 53, my friend.
53, all righty. What does the 23-year-old Bobby Kelly think of the fact that a 53-year-old Bobby Kelly is living in Westchester, right?
Yes.
And you're out on a deck, and there's resplendent foliage behind you.
Yes, great word. I'm going to use that. I'm stealing that. I don't know what it means, but I'm thinking it's positive.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the problem. Happiest I've ever been with the wife. Here she comes right now up the stairs. I did something wrong. I'm on an interview, honey. I mean, it's the best, but I feel like I've gotten less funny. My funny's in the things that aggravate me, you know what I mean? Or things that happen. And now
Contentment doesn't make for good comedy?
it does for certain comedians, I think. What makes me laugh is not what makes the 22-year-old Bobby Kelly laugh. What makes me laugh the other day, it was the first day of school last week or 2 weeks ago, and we want my son to get up by himself. So he set his alarm on his phone. But we're all sleeping in the same room because we're doing all this work, like the grandparents of Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory, right? And his alarm goes off, and then a couple minutes later, he toots. I mean, orchestra. He could have auditioned for the Boston Pops, and then he just went alarm number 2. And
How old is he?
He's
How old?
11.
11, okay.
I mean, I was on the floor. I was dying laughing. I was like, Adam Sandler couldn't have wrote that any better. It was great. So that's the kind of stuff that makes me giggle now, you know? It's funny to be able to, shop. My kid is 11, and we wear the same pants now. And the same, he's going to be a big boy. He's got the same shoe size as me. He's wearing a 10.5. He's 11. I'm glad I got into shape because he's gonna test me in a couple years.
But so he's still in the good tween as opposed to, oppositional teen years?
He's a little oppositional now. I always say it's hard to be it's easy to be a parent. It's hard to be a good parent. It's easy to just beat the crap out of them, you know what I mean? And use God to scare the crap out of them. We don't have that ability anymore.
And the ability to procreate does not come with a guarantee that you can actually parent.
No. Oh, no. No, but here's the thing, too. It's like when you have a kid, it is a gamble. Is it going to be I mean, when I first had him, I was hoping I got a prodigy, I was putting, pianos in his lap as a baby. I was putting, books in Spanish, hoping he could just read it. Maybe I get lucky and get one of those America's Got Talent 5-year-olds that just knows how to sing and play the piano, the saxophone. I didn't. I got the kid that farts as a second alarm, which is good. You either want the prodigy that's going to make you money, you got to get a little tuxedo for him real early, or you want the kid that's funny and has a great heart. You don't want the in the middle prodigy, like the kid that can stack cups quick. You don't have to go to, where you going this weekend? I got a stacking cups convention in Cleveland.
I want to take you back. I first saw you 15 years ago. It was what was then called the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany. 10,000 people. You opened for Dane Cook.
Yes.
And I told 100,000 readers that you were funnier than Dane Cook.
That article put me over in Albany to this day. I'm telling you, dude, I have fans that still see me in Albany and Saratoga. Saratoga. To this day, still come up to me, bro. And like, dude, you remember you were at the thing and that week in the paper, he said you were bad. That article was probably the best press I've ever gotten in my life.
Well, I was with a friend of mine, and we were up in one of the boxes at the arena, and there's some chairs, 2 rows of seats in the front. So I was standing behind them, and I was writing in my notebook, and I was laughing so hard that a tear fell onto my notebook and splotched the writing. And a friend of mine was sitting on a couch behind me, and I couldn't hear him. And I turned around, and he had gone fetal and was laughing so hard he couldn't make any noise. He'd gone silent.
Oh, man.
And my favorite one was the bit where you said, I turned 40 and I didn't give a crap anymore. And you remember this bit, how you knew you didn't give a crap? Because you farted in a baby's face.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's funny because all my stuff, everything I do on stage has happened to me in some form or another, where I do exaggerate it to lengthen it. But I remember that day, it was on 43rd and 10th. I was with my wife, and some lady parked her baby right in my butt. And I just tooted right in his face. And I remember the lady was so angry at me.
Well, I mean, you described it as like the baby was trying to fight a ghost.
It was just funny.
But would you fart in a baby's face today?
No, but I hope I passed it on to my son where he would. And I believe I did. It's funny, that article you wrote, you got me in trouble with Dane, right?
Maybe that was my hope. Because if I could piss, Dane Cook's not going to pay any attention to me whatsoever.
Oh, well, he did that day. Let me tell you, I think we were walking somewhere and something came up, and he's like, well, what do you say about me? And I don't think he said anything. I don't know what happened, but I remember his management and me had to deal with that for a couple of days, which was hilarious to me.
I don't know that it'll go on my tombstone, but maybe somebody will mention it in a eulogy that I once got my favorite comedian in trouble with Dane Cook.
I'll mention you in my eulogy.
I do appreciate that. But then when I saw you at the Funny Bone a couple of years ago, I was with a friend of mine, the one who saw the first time, and he was with his cousin. And you suggested the two of them, both guys, were sleeping together.
Whoops.
No, they thought it was hilarious. I don't think they pursued anything after that, but they did think it was funny.
I don't like to go on stage, and I don't want to see them. I don't like to even have the door open to the green room. I don't want to see anything. I want to see people's faces for the first time as soon as I get up there, because I don't want to have, like, some comics like to look at the room and be told who's there and birthdays. I don't want any of that, because anything I say to anybody, I want it to be right then, there. Whatever comes out, comes out. Because I feel like that, to me, when you do a little crowd work or when you involve the crowd, is real and organic, and it's right then and there. And when I do, I like to seamlessly kind of, have my jokes. Like, is this all made up? Is it crowd work? I like to incorporate the crowd. I like the crowd to be part of my act with me, but I never and ever want to make anybody feel bad. I have a real good barometer in me to know if somebody's going to be cool or somebody. I don't want to mess with some people because I don't want people to feel bad. I want people to feel, if they're part of the show, to feel good and that they were part of my hour of being up there. So they have something to remember, and believe it or not, I have a lot of people that come back and see me over and over again. And they come up and tell me stories like that, where you made fun of me and now I have a nickname, and which I love. That makes me so happy.
Do comedians do too much crowd work? Because, Facebook is full of people. All it is clips of crowd work. In my opinion, Matt Rife can't sustain a whole set, but he's really good with crowd work. So is there too much crowd work?
When I used to do crowd work at the Cellar, all of a sudden I go back into my jokes and they weren't as good. The crowd let you know. And I stopped doing crowd work because I was like, if I can't seamlessly go in and out of my jokes and crowd work into my joke where it is just as funny, if not funnier, then I shouldn't be doing crowd work. And this happened before, back in the day, when comedy becomes big and crowd work clips are making people famous right now, because people want to see, they don't want to see jokes anymore. They want to see, new stuff. They want to see people just riffing, because to them, to the kids or whoever's watching this, in 30-second minute clips, which is everything now, that's what's getting them into it. And they're getting followers and likes and becoming famous on social media before they're becoming famous in front of a crowd.
Right.
That's what's going to suck. That's what's going to kill comedy. Because when you go to a show, you should be laughing hysterically the whole time. Every 30 seconds, in my eyes, you should be cracking up. And you should leave a comedy show having some type of experience emotionally, where whatever day you are having, it's like, man, I needed that. I needed that. If you go to a show where you're like, oh, I can't wait to see this person, I saw him on this, and then you go and you leave and you're like, meh, that's going to affect stand-up. You might not go to the next one. You might not pay that much money to see that person because last time, meh, where I think it might have an effect on comedy where it might die again, which it needs to die. Comedy's punk rock. Comedy's in a room. It's not an arena thing. That's a money thing. Comedy is, it should be 300 people or less. And it tends to get to this point every so often where, look at comics are playing the Garden like they're U2 now.
Right.
And, when I came up, Dane was the first one to do it since Steve Martin or Dice Clay. There's people doing it now, not even in front of crowds. They're filming themselves in front of a backdrop in their basement and adding a laugh track in and becoming famous.
And going back to the arena stuff, before Aziz Ansari went out on tour with Amy Schumer, he did 13 dates in Albany. He flew up. It was a show Tommy Nicky was booking. He flew in by private jet. They brought him. He was a little late. They brought him right to the door. He walks in the door, drops his bag, goes right on stage. Liked it so much he did 13 in a 100-seat house.
Yep.
Because he was working up towards arenas, but he wanted to do it in a 100-seat house in Albany.
Yeah. Chris Rock does the same thing. Goes to the Cellar and works his whole thing out there. Jerry Seinfeld. Burr will go work clubs. Because that's where you're going to know it's funny. In front of 200 people, 100 people, 300 people. Right. They don't give a crap. It's right there. And you're going to know if that joke worked. How do you know if a joke worked in an arena? It's a sea of laughter. To me, it's more about when you're working in an arena, it's more about the fame. You're going to see somebody famous.
Well, It's Kevin Hart playing the Eagles Stadium in front of 50,000.
That's money. It's money, and it's fame. It's not funny.
I'm going to give you $80 million. Will you go do arenas?
Yeah, I'll do 2 of them, and I'll do it right now. Yep, I'll sell my soul, 100%. And then I'll move to Aruba, and I'll become Aruba Bob, and you'll have to come see me in Aruba, and I'll learn Dutch.
Absolutely. Love Aruba. All righty. This was a great chat. Thank you for doing it, and I look forward to seeing you in Cohoes.
But Steve, if you do give me $80 million to do an arena, I'm going to hire you to come down, and you're going to write an article about it.
Yeah, but then you have to give half the 80 million back, because then I will have sold my soul too, and I won't have a future in journalism.
No, I will give you 20 million of the 80 million.
All right. I'll take 20.
So we'll both be in Aruba, and you can bring those 2 friends with you too if they want to come. We'll get them a bungalow.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. The cousin bungalow. All righty. Thank you, sir. You be well.
Buddy, you're the best. It's great to talk to you as always. Have a great week, buddy.
Robert Kelly will be at Cohoes Music Hall on Saturday, October 5th at 8 p.m. And we shall see if he can make Steve Barnes laugh till he cries again. That's it for this week. We will be back with more episodes of The Eagle very soon. The Eagle is a production of the Times-Union. It's produced and edited by myself, Jessica Marshall, with help from the Times-Union's digital team and the newsroom. Our music is Flyin' by Top Floor. Questions or comments? Email us at podcast@timesunion.com. Support for this podcast comes from CDTA, The Eagle, a Times-Union podcast driven by CDTA.